After CBI, Enforcement Directorate arrests Kejriwal's main man. Arrest after 2 days of intense grilling. Sisodia's politics of jail jibe at the BJP. Aam Aadmi Party cries foul, alleges conspiracy.
मोदी जी बौखला दे, अरे कुछ मिल ही नहीं रहा है, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? लगाओ अपनी ईडी।
BJP versus AAP dangal on corruption. BJP says Kejriwal is the biggest mastermind.
Mr. Kejriwal, he is the Pinocchio of Indian politics. He only lies, tries to divert, and he tries to cover up for corruption.
The big Delhi liquor gate dangal explodes. The big focus on 5 Live. K. Kavita will be questioned tomorrow. Corruption becomes the big political headline in the national capital and beyond in the year's big election season. I'm Shiv. This is 5 Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. The headlines first as always. With just a day left for her Enforcement Directorate appearance, KCR's daughter K. Kavita stages a big protest demanding the Women's Reservation Bill. Nearly 16 opposition parties lend support.
महिलाओं को राजनीतिक क्षेत्र में भी भागीदारी मिलनी चाहिए.
Widow's stir escalates in Jaipur. BJP's Kirodi Lal Meena injured and hospitalized after showdown with police. Braveheart's widows detained, then released. BJP says Congress insulting the heroes. BJP hits out at Rahul Gandhi over his remarks in the United Kingdom. Union Minister Anurag Thakur accuses Rahul of spewing hate against India. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar criticizes foreign interference statement. Just months ahead of the polls, Congress flexes a united stance in Karnataka. Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar appeal to voters together in the same frame. Big fire still raging at Kochi's Brahmapuram toxic waste plant rages on for 9 days now. Indian Navy and state officials intensify joint firefighting operations. 2 pilots, part of the operations, join me live at 5:40. The Delhi liquor gate dangal has heated up, and how? And that's my top story on 5 p.m. today. An order on Aam Aadmi Party leader and Arvind Kejriwal's number 2 man, Manish Sisodia. His remand with the Enforcement Directorate. An order on that is expected very shortly by a Delhi court. An intense series of arguments have been taking place between the Enforcement Directorate and Manish Sisodia's legal team in the Delhi excise policy case, which we're calling the liquor gate dangal. The Enforcement Directorate has told the court that Manish Sisodia had a direct role in the Delhi liquor scam and underscored that the Delhi liquor policy was framed to benefit certain individuals, including KCR's daughter K. Kavita. Sisodia's lawyers claim instead of solid evidence, arrests are made only according to perception of the agency. Meanwhile, Delhi BJP took to the streets against the Aam Aadmi Party government. The Saffron Party alleges that Kejriwal is the biggest mastermind amongst all and he needs to be arrested next. Sisodia has been lodged in Delhi's Tihar jail after being arrested by the CBI for his alleged role in the liquor gate scandal.
BJP is staging yet another protest near the Aam Aadmi Party national headquarters over the excise policy case, and right there you could see several dummies of the Tihar jail have been formed at the protest site with the Aam Aadmi Party top leaders inside such dummy jails. This is one jail where you could see a person wearing Arvind Kejriwal's mask, and this is because BJP is now demanding that Arvind Kejriwal should resign from the post of Delhi Chief Minister, and you have the BJP Karyakartas expressing their anger at the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Marg on the dummy jails which have been put out here. On the other side, when you will go where the two other jails have been established by the BJP Karyakartas out here, these are two dummy Tihar jails which have been constructed at the protest site.
There is only one place for those who indulge in corruption, that is Tihar jail, and therefore we have shown that the Arvind Kejriwal government is head to toe dipped in corruption, and the ministers are in jail, and not because of agencies, because courts have kept him there. Satyendra Jain is in jail for 9 months. Manish Sisodia did not get relief from Supreme Court. Vijay Nair is in jail for 6 months. Yet Mr. Kejriwal calls them Kattar Imandar. He is the most corrupt kingpin of corruption in Delhi, under whose watch and patronage Sharab Ghotala took place, Kaksha Ghotala took place, Delhi Jal Board Ghotala, Bus Ghotala took place. In fact, they will get gold medal for the ghotalas they've done.
ये तो साफ दिखाता है कि केंद्र सरकार का इन्वेस्टिगेशन से, करप्शन से उनका कोई लेना देना नहीं है। वो सिर्फ एक पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रेटजी के तहत काम कर रहे हैं कि कैसे मनीष सिसोदिया जी को जेल में रखा जाए। अभी तक सीबीआई ये नहीं बता पाई है कि उनके पास मनीष सिसोदिया जी के खिलाफ क्या डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस है। देयर इज नथिंग।
Let's go straight across to India Today's Amit Bharadwaj and Anisha Mathur who's live from the Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi, where an order on Enforcement Directorate remand is expected very shortly. Anisha, how soon before we know more about that?
Well, Shiv, we're still waiting for an update from inside the courtroom. The judge, of course, had reserved his verdict at around 4:30 p.m. and had said he will be passing the verdict shortly. It is now past 5 p.m. We should be hopefully getting a verdict in the next 15 to 20 minutes or so, because the courts, as we all know, the trial courts close at 5:30 p.m. The time for the officials to leave from here is at 5:30 p.m. So unless the judge wants his staff to stay longer, the verdict should be coming very shortly. But the interesting arguments have taken place today, Shiv, in this particular matter today. Of course, Mr. Sisodia's bail petition in the CBI case now on the 21st of March, which seems to indicate that at least some days of custody is likely to be given to the Enforcement Directorate. Now, we're just getting breaking news from our colleagues, Shiv. My colleague Kanu Sharda and Srishti Ojha are inside the courtroom. We're just getting that Sisodia has been sent to 10 days of custody of 7 days of custody, I beg your pardon, 7 days custody granted of Manish Sisodia to Enforcement Directorate. This is an information that is just being broken by my colleagues Srishti and Kanu, who are inside the courtroom. He will remain now in custody till the 17th of March. Well, yes. This is a big breaking news that we're bringing to you. My colleagues are inside the courtroom. 17th of March is when Manish Sisodia will be brought back now here to the Rouse Avenue Court. The Enforcement Directorate now has 7 days custody of Mr. Sisodia to interrogate him, confront him with all the witnesses, all the other co-accused, etc. This is the news we're bringing you right now as my colleagues are inside, saying that Enforcement Directorate gets custody of Manish Sisodia till March 17th. And very clearly, the ED has been able to make its case before the court of Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal. The ED, remember, has been saying that they have received evidence that even in Manish Sisodia's own secretary had given a statement to the ED saying that he was part of the changing of the liquor policy. Clearly, the ED has gotten its way right now. For 7 days custody has been granted. He will now be brought back on the 17th of March at 2 p.m. to the Rouse Avenue Court. Remember, the ED has been saying that they have documentary evidence, they have witness statements, etc., linking Mr. Sisodia to the money trail, that they are still looking for the money exchange, for the money trail. They've also said that they have summoned several persons over the... I beg your pardon. They've summoned 7 persons in the next few days who will now be confronted with Mr. Manish Sisodia while he is in the Enforcement Directorate custody. And one of them is likely to be K. Kavita, who's the BRS leader, who's the daughter of the Telangana Chief Minister, because a lot of the arguments by the ED today have been with regard to money coming from Hyderabad to Delhi. The ED has also said that several persons have given their statements, several witness statements have been recorded. Of course, Dinesh Arora, who is one of the persons who was accused in this case, was a businessman.
Yes.
He had also turned approver and given a statement. There's also Arun Pillai, who had directly mentioned the connection between the South Cartel, the liquor license holders, and the Aam Aadmi Party's Vijay Nair and others. So all of these things will have to now be considered and investigated properly by the Enforcement Directorate. On the 17th now we will find out what has been the further investigation done by the Enforcement Directorate. And as you very shortly, Shiv, we will see the lawyers for the ED as well as the lawyers for Sisodia now coming out of the court, and we'll give you an update on what exactly has been said in detail by the judge while granting custody. Back to you.
Okay, stay with me, Anisha. We'll cut back to you once those lawyers come out. I'm just going straight to, we have Amit with us, but I want to quickly go to Manish Pandey, my colleague, who's outside the Enforcement Directorate at this point. Manish, give us a preview. The Enforcement Directorate asked for 10 days. They've got 7 days remand to interrogate Manish Sisodia. Just walk us through what kind of interrogation this is going to be. What kind of line of questioning will there be? And like Anisha was telling us, he is going to be faced with others.
Yeah, well, Shiv, before answering your question, let me show you what is happening outside the ED headquarters, because Manish Sisodia will be brought here. You can see the barricades have been placed here, and there is a police deployment here. Enough number of police have been deployed, and apart from that, there is a paramilitary forces inside this ED headquarters where Manish Sisodia will be staying for next 7 days. Now, answering your question, Shiv, as far as the next 7 days are going to be concerned, Manish Sisodia will be confronted with series of evidences, not only the accused in the case, not only witnesses in the case, but also documentary and digital evidences in this case are concerned, he will be confronted with. Apart from that, the line of questioning will be regarding the draft copy of excise policy, why the profit margin was raised from 5% to 12%, why there was a meeting at the residence of Arvind Kejriwal in presence of Satyendra Jain, where the then excise secretary C. Arvind was informed for the first time that the profit margin has been raised to 12%. Why the files with experts' opinion and comments was deleted from the excise department server. All these questions will be asked to Manish Sisodia, but important is going to be destruction of evidence, because remember, Manish Sisodia's own secretary Devendra Sharma appeared before the Enforcement Directorate, and he in his statement has told the ED that there were phones which were bought on my name from Flipkart, and those phones were used by Manish Sisodia. And now ED claims that out of 14 phones which were used by Manish Sisodia in year 2021-2022, they are yet to recover 12 phones, and many of these phones have been destroyed. So certainly it is going to be extremely important as far as this investigation is concerned. But Shiv, trouble seems to be mounting for Manish Sisodia, because remember, ED, while taking the custody of
Stay with me, Manish. Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party is speaking live. Let's just go across. We'll come back to you.
बदनाम करो, मनीष सिसोदिया को एन केन प्रकारेण किसी भी तरीके से जेल के अंदर रखो। कोई साक्ष्य मनीष सिसोदिया के खिलाफ अब तक नहीं मिला। मैं पूछना चाहता हूं नरेंद्र मोदी जी से, आप बताइए देश को सामने आकर, मनीष सिसोदिया के घर 14 घंटे सीबीआई की छापेमारी हुई, कुछ नहीं मिला। गांव में छापेमारी हुई, कुछ नहीं मिला। दफ्तर में छापेमारी हुई, कुछ नहीं मिला। बैंक में छापेमारी हुई, कुछ नहीं मिला। पहली चार्जशीट आई, कुछ नहीं मिला। दूसरी चार्जशीट आई, कुछ नहीं मिला। 5 दिन सीबीआई ने पूछताछ की, कुछ नहीं मिला। 2 दिन फिर पूछताछ की, कुछ नहीं मिला। और जब 10 तारीख को मनीष सिसोदिया जी की सीबीआई के मामले में जमानत पर कोर्ट में सुनवाई होनी थी, उसके ठीक पहले 10 महीने से सो रही ईडी को जगाया गया। जागो जागो, अरे कुछ तो करो, कैसे ये बाहर आ जाएगा। ठीक जमानत की सुनवाई के 1 दिन पहले ईडी पहुंच जाती है और गिरफ्तार कर लेती है मनीष सिसोदिया जी को। आज बताइए पूरे देश को, जिस घोटाले को मोदी जी, आप और आपकी पार्टी सैकड़ों हजारों करोड़ का घोटाला बता रही है। कोई कहता है 10,000 करोड़ का घोटाला, कोई कहता है 2,000 करोड़ का घोटाला। इतने छापेमारियों के बाद, पूरी सीबीआई ईडी लगाने के बाद, सारी जांच एजेंसियों की ताकत झोंकने के बाद क्या बरामदगी हुई, आप बताइए। पूरे देश को सामने आकर बताइए क्या क्या आपने बरामद किया। कितने पैसे मिले मनीष सिसोदिया के घर, कितनी रिकवरी हुई मनीष सिसोदिया के घर, किस आरोप और जुर्म में आपने मनीष सिसोदिया को जेल में रखा है, बताइए आप। कोई जवाब नहीं है। जवाब सिर्फ एक है, आम आदमी पार्टी को किसी तरीके से रोको, मनीष सिसोदिया को किसी भी तरीके से जेल में रखो, और जो भ्रष्टाचार के आरोप प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और उनके मित्र के ऊपर लग रहे हैं, उस अडानी के घोटाले से ध्यान भटकाने के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी जो भ्रष्टाचार में सर से पांव तक डूबी हुई है, उस भ्रष्टाचार से ध्यान हटाने के लिए ये रोज नए नए ड्रामे, नई नई कहानियां, नई नई सीबीआई के किस्से, नए नए ईडी के किस्से आ रहे हैं। इसका न सिर है न पांव है। और भारतीय जनता पार्टी तो वो पार्टी बन गई है जिसमें जो जितना बड़ा भ्रष्टाचारी वो उतना बड़ा पदाधिकारी। आप सोचिए, वाटर स्कैम का आरोप हेमंत विश्व शर्मा पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने लगाया, फिर उसको मुख्यमंत्री बना दिया। मुकुल राय पर शारदा स्कैम का आरोप लगाया, फिर उसको राष्ट्रीय उपाध्यक्ष बना दिया। शुभेंदु अधिकारी पर शारदा स्कैम के भ्रष्टाचार की जांच चलती है, फिर उसको लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन बंगाल का बना दिया। नारायण राणे पर लैंड स्कैम, जमीन के घोटाले का मामला चलता है सीबीआई में, फिर उनको केंद्रीय मंत्री बना दिया जाता है। अजीत पवार पर चक्की पिसिंग कह के सिंचाई घोटाले का 40,000 करोड़ का आरोप लगाया जाता है, फिर 6:30 बजे सुबह देवेंद्र फडणवीस के साथ मिलकर शपथ ले ली जाती है। येदियुरप्पा पर माइनिंग घोटाले का आरोप लगता है, फिर उनको मुख्यमंत्री बना दिया जाता है। शिवराज सिंह पर व्यापम घोटाले का आरोप लगता है, फिर उनको मुख्यमंत्री बना दिया जाता है। तो बीजेपी का नारा है, जो जितना बड़ा भ्रष्टाचारी वो उतना बड़ा पदाधिकारी। ये इनकी हालत है, ये इनकी हालत है। पूरा देश देख रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आप में जरा सा भी नैतिक साहस है तो आइए और बताइए मनीष सिसोदिया के घर पे क्या रिकवरी हुई, बताइए इतने सारे छापेमारियों के बाद कितना कैश मिला, क्या क्या बरामदगी हुई, बताइए पूरे देश को। और जहां बरामदगी होती है वहां पर आंख पर पट्टी बांध लेते हो आप लोग। वहां आपकी सीबीआई, वहां आपकी ईडी, वहां आपकी जांच एजेंसियां ऐसे मामलों में गजनी मोड में चली जाती है, गजनी मोड में याददाश्त खो जाती है। जब बीजेपी एमएलए के बेटे के घर 8 करोड़ रुपए निकलता है, कैश में मोटी मोटी गड्डियां सामने आती है, उसको जमानत मिल जाती है, उसके खिलाफ कोई कार्रवाई नहीं होती। जब अडानी का घोटाला सामने आता है, मॉरिशस में एक पते पर 6 कंपनी खोलकर 42,000 करोड़ रुपए काला धन, उन 6 कंपनियों की आमदनी का जरिया पता नहीं, अडानी की कंपनी में हिंदुस्तान के अंदर 42,000 करोड़ रुपए लगाया जाता है। कोई ईडी, कोई सीबीआई, कोई जांच एजेंसी उस पर कार्रवाई नहीं करती। बताइए आप, मुंद्रा पोर्ट पर 3,000 किलो ड्रग्स मिली, हीरोइन मिली, तालिबान से वो ड्रग्स लाई गई थी। 3,000 किलो हीरोइन, 20,000 करोड़ रुपए का ड्रग्स मिला। और मोदी जी, आपने क्या किया? जो 20,000 करोड़ का तालिबान आपको ड्रग्स देता है, भारत के मुंद्रा पोर्ट पर ड्रग्स देता है, उस तालिबान को आप 20,000 टन गेहूं देते हैं। मोदी जी का नारा है, तुम मुझे ड्रग्स दो, मैं तुम्हें गेहूं दूंगा। ये नारा है इनका। आज आटा खिलाया जा रहा है तालिबानियों को, आटा खिला खिला के मोटा किया जा रहा है। आप मुझे जरा बताइए, भारत के बजट में सैकड़ों करोड़ रुपए मोदी जी दे देते हैं, बताइए आप, ये कौन सी जांच हो रही है? सिर्फ विपक्ष के लोगों पर, सिर्फ मनीष सिसोदिया पर, सिर्फ अरविंद केजरीवाल पर, सिर्फ सत्येंद्र जैन पर, सिर्फ आम आदमी पार्टी पर। क्या इस देश के लोगों को याद नहीं 7 साल पहले आपने अरविंद केजरीवाल के दफ्तर पे सीबीआई का छापा मारा था, क्या निकला? 43 विधायकों पे फर्जी मुकदमे करके जेल में आपने रखा, क्या निकला? बताइए, आपने सुंगलू कमेटी से 400 फाइलों की हमारी जांच की, क्या निकला? तो सिर्फ आप बदनाम करने के लिए झूठे मुकदमे लगाते हैं, झूठे आरोप लगाते हैं, जिसका ना कोई सिर है ना पांव है, और आप साहस नहीं है आपके अंदर कि सामने आके हमारी बातों का आप जवाब दे सके। तो इसलिए आम आदमी पार्टी की लड़ाई जारी रहेगी, हमारा संघर्ष जारी रहेगा। और अगर मोदी जी ये सोचते हैं कि उनकी सरकार के भ्रष्टाचार, उनके मित्र के द्वारा किए गए भ्रष्टाचार का मुद्दा इन गिरफ्तारियों से और इन कार्रवाइयों से टल जाएगा, तो ऐसा होने वाला नहीं है। आप ध्यान भटकाने की कोशिश कीजिए, हम याद दिलाने की कोशिश करेंगे और बार बार आपके घोटालों को खोलने का काम करेंगे। आपके कोई प्रश्न हो आप पूछ सकते हैं।
सर, आपका नाम भी आया है, आज जो चर्चा हुई है, ईडी के काउंसिल ने आपका भी नाम उछाला है, कहा गया है कि आपने फंडिंग, आम आदमी पार्टी को पैसे की कमी हो रही थी, फंडिंग की कमी थी, इसलिए आपने कई सारे रेस्टोरेंटियर्स से बातचीत की, जिसमें दिनेश अरोड़ा भी शामिल।
देखिए, ऐसा है कि मनोहर कहानियां
Manish Sisodia will be brought to the Enforcement Directorate very, very shortly. That's where India Today's Munish Pandey is right now. Munish, take us through the preparations you were telling us.
Well, Shiv, we are standing right outside the ED headquarters in the national capital, and as you can see, the moment the order was pronounced that he is to be sent in ED custody for 7 days, you can see the barricades have been placed here right outside the ED headquarters, and there is enough number of police personnel who have been deployed here just to ensure that if there is any protest by any political party or anyone, there should not be any disruption in law and order. Apart from that, we can also tell you that there is a CSF security which is inside, the ED headquarters. So overall, ED has prepared everything so that when Manish Sisodia is in their custody.
थे और उस पर कोर्ट ने जो है अभी 10 दिन की पीसी मांगी थी ईडी ने। कोर्ट ने 17 तारीख तक यानी 7 दिन की पीसी ग्रांट की है और 17 तारीख को 2 बजे फिर कोर्ट में पेश करना होगा ईडी को।
Sir, your line of argument was for Mr. Sisodia that there is no clear evidence against him, that there is no money trail, but it does not seem to have been accepted by the court because if
No, the court is not that the court has not accepted it. The grant of remand is a process of the investigation. So it's not about the accepting or rejecting the argument, but on the paper. In the application, 50 pages or 58 pages of the application, and not a single proof they are going to show to the court that where money has reached Mr. Sisodia or not. Not at all. Not an
पहली बार अरविंद केजरीवाल का नाम लिया गया और संजय सिंह का नाम लिया गया कि
it is in the some statement given by the some witnesses, not by the ED in any of that. That was referred.
So what was actually said in the remand application? What are the
There are 50 pages.
What are the evidences that the ED is talking about?
I would say that 58 pages of the remand application, all blown up allegations, nothing substantial, and not a single iota of an evidence where it has been shown that the money trail has reached to Mr. Sisodia. Nothing.
Once again, the allegation coming in that he has been completely evasive since beginning. He has been, evasive.
See, in investigation, you're supposed to say what you're supposed to say. You can't put a gun on the head and say that they confessed something. So that this can't be the investigation. So whatever reply that he has given, they will keep on saying that they're evasive and all. Nothing like that.
What is the next step now for Mr. Sisodia?
Now the bail application in the CBI, which has been postponed by in the haste that the EDA has arrested. One day when the bail application was listed today, they have arrested yesterday. It shows the kind of the malafide that the ED has. So now the bail application will be heard on 21st.
No,
the
17
CBI.
will you seek preponement of the bail hearing?
No, that's not the case because 17 till the police remand is there. We may make a prayer of the bail hearing to take place on the same day if the ED comes with that no further remand is there and all those circumstances. Let's see what happens on the 17th first.
सर संजय सिंह का नाम जिस तरह से आ रहा है और
संजय सिंह का नाम और बाकी लोगों का नाम विटनेसेस के स्टेटमेंट में दिया गया है कि ये जानते थे, ये मानते, इन्होंने, there is nothing on ED to show, there is no allegation for those people, nothing.
Sir, the ED has also said that they have statements from the secretary himself. Also.
Those are the matter of the investigation that will come.
Excise Commissioner has given a statement, sir.
Yes, those statements will be taken at the time of the trial. Nothing can.
Thank you.
All right, Anisha and Manish continue to be with me. Manish, do we know when Manish Sisodia is going to be brought to the ED?
Sir, please. Well, it will take a little time, around 30 minutes, Shiv, because remember, he was in the custody of Tihar jail. He was in judicial custody. So after the custody has been given to the Enforcement Directorate, there is a process where the transfer of Manish Sisodia will be from Tihar jail custody to the ED custody. So it will take few minutes, and Manish Sisodia will take to reach this ED headquarters. But also, Shiv, we have accessed the remand application. Remember, in recent times, I haven't seen such a long remand copy of any agency. This was a 58 pages remand copy. Usually see a remand copy of 5 pages, 8 pages or 10 pages. But
okay.
This is a 58 pages remand copy. And about Manish Sisodia, what they have mentioned is that Manish Sisodia got the policy formulated and implemented in a way so to allow illegal gains to certain persons, entities against kickbacks. He took various decisions as a part of a group of ministers and as the excise minister, which ultimately resulted into huge loss to the exchequer and illegal gains to specific persons, entities against kickbacks. So this is one of the parts which I'm reading. There is a series of, there are charts and everything which the ED has mentioned in their entire remand application, and it is going to be certainly important because remember, this is what they have mentioned in the remand copy, which means that in terms of paper trail, in terms of when Manish Sisodia will be questioned, they will have huge amount of documentary evidences with which Manish Sisodia will be confronted. So we can say that next few days are going to be troubling as far as the Delhi former Deputy Chief Minister is concerned.
Okay, Manish, stay with me. So it's going to take a while, some paperwork to be done before Manish Sisodia is brought to the Enforcement Directorate. Kanu Sarda is with us from outside the Rouse Avenue Court, where 7 days remand has just been handed down for Manish Sisodia with the Enforcement Directorate. Kanu, can you tell us what happened in court? We've just heard from the Aam Aadmi Party lawyer, but 10 days of remand had been requested. They've got 7 days. How did it all play out?
Well, Shiv, the 7-day remand was granted to the ED just to question and find out the money trail which was alleged in the remand application by the ED. They have sought 10 days remand, but it is we have always seen that whatever the remand is being sought by the investigating agency, the court doesn't fulfill all that. But interestingly, K. Kavita is supposed to be appearing before the ED investigating agency tomorrow, and in the ED arguments before the court today, it was categorically mentioned that they have summoned 7 people and they might confront Manish Sisodia with all of them. So it will be very interesting to see tomorrow that if whether Manish Sisodia will be confronted with K. Kavita and how the things will play in the coming days.
Okay, thanks very much, Kanu, and to our team. We'll keep bringing that update to you when Manish Sisodia arrives at the Enforcement Directorate after leaving from Tihar jail as well. We'll get you those visuals first here on India Today. We're taking a very quick break here on the news. On the other side, we're shifting out of the national capital and taking you to the southern metropolis of Kochi, where a huge fire in an outsized junkyard has been raging for 9 days now. I'm going to introduce you live to a couple of Navy pilots who've been braving the haze and toxic smoke to try and put out the fire from their helicopters. The Aam Aadmi Party's de facto second in command is behind bars in the Liquorgate case. And a cornered Aam Aadmi Party is fighting the perception battle. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Wednesday skipped Holi celebrations. Instead, he meditated for 5 hours contemplating the state of affairs in the country, he claimed. The Aam Aadmi Party has rallied behind Manish Sisodia big time. The party lashed out at the Narendra Modi government for keeping Sisodia in Delhi's maximum security Tihar jail. Jail number 1, where Sisodia is apparently lodged, the Aam Aadmi Party claims, is set aside for hardline criminals.
उनको किसी षड्यंत्र के तहत तिहाड़ जेल की जेल नंबर 1 में रखा गया है। जेल नंबर 1 में पूरे देश के सबसे खतरनाक, वायलेंट, हिंसक अपराधी बंद हैं कि छोटे से इशारे पे भी किसी की भी हत्या कर सकते हैं और उनके ऊपर दर्जनों हत्याओं के मुकदमे चल रहे हैं। उन्हें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता एक मुकदमा और चल जाए।
वो लोग हैं जो झूठ बोलने में नंबर 1 है, भ्रष्टाचार में नंबर 1 है, गुमराह करने में नंबर 1 है और ये अरविंद केजरीवाल एंड पार्टी नंबर 1 भ्रष्टाचार में है।
The Aam Aadmi Party alleges there's a plot to finish Sisodia's political career.
आपने उनको पहली बार के जेल में जो जाता है उसको आपने ऐसे खूंखार अपराधियों के बीच में रखा है जहां उनकी हत्या भी हो सकती है। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री जी की मंशा क्या है, क्योंकि तिहाड़ जेल में तो कैदियों की हत्या भी हो चुकी है। आप क्या मनीष सिसोदिया को भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार मरवाना चाहती है?
ये आपकी मानसिकता दिखाता है कि आप किस तरह की सोच रखते हैं। हमारे डिफरेंस ओपिनियन हो सकते हैं, लेकिन इस तरह की बातें सोच रहे तो आप लोग भी सोच सकते हो, हम नहीं सोच सकते। सबको मालूम है कि तिहाड़ जेल जो है वो दिल्ली सरकार के तहत आता है और हम सब ने देखा कि किस प्रकार से अभी रिजाइन हुए मंत्री सत्येंद्र जैन जिस प्रकार से रिजॉर्ट की तरह वहां मजे ले रहे हैं, सबने देखा तिहाड़ जेल के अंदर मजे ले रहे हैं।
As the Aam Aadmi Party battles Liquorgate charges, the heat, however, is only escalating. Bureau Report, India Today.
I had a dream when I was 8 years old. I wanted to touch the stars. And I thought, what is the easiest way to touch the stars? Let's become a pilot. When I was in 11th grade, as a pilot, I had to take science. One of my teachers at that point in time, she called me, Zoya, why have you taken science? I'm like, because I want to become a pilot. She says, have you seen like your, family background? Have you seen where you come from? Do you think you can become a pilot? Your family will not be able to make you, become a pilot. मैं बोलती हूँ अगर मुश्किलें कम हो तो फिर मज़ा थोड़ा कम आता है ना। लड़की है, अपना बड़े होके अच्छा सा लड़का मिल जाए और उसके बाद अपना घर संभालेगी, right? Those are the exact dreams that my mom had for me. That 8-year-old Zoya who pushed me when I was 8 years old, when everything seemed to go against me, still stays inside of me, and she continues to push me every single day to follow her dreams, to do more. I never wanted to play with dolls. They were not my thing. I wanted a telescope. So my mom was always scandalized by me from the very beginning. She thought that there is something deeply wrong with this one child that she has, that she wants to have a telescope and not kitchen set and Barbie dolls. But that's what I wanted. And when I broke the news to her that I want to become a pilot, she said that, oh my God, Bhagwan ne hamare ko ek hi bachchi di hai aur wo bhi itni alag si. So she started crying.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking from the flight deck once again. Welcome on board. There's history creating maiden flight from San Francisco to Bengaluru.
For the first time in the aviation history, there was a crew, a team of all women who were flying over the North Pole on one of the world's longest, Air India's longest flight, between two Silicon Valleys, San Francisco to Bengaluru, which turned a whole new leaf in the world's aviation industry. The whole world was excited, and Air India was excited, India was excited, and we were beyond thrilled. Yeah.
The air over the southern city of Kochi has been ruined in the last 5 days by a fire at Kochi's Brahmapuram waste treatment plant. It's been raging for nearly 10 days now. Indian Navy and its pilots, along with state officials, have been engaged in a huge firefighting operation on land and from the air. With toxic fumes shrouding Kochi, residents have been advised to stay indoors and wear masks, while senior citizens have complained of suffocation and dizziness. Take a look at just how bad it is.
The Queen of Arabian Sea under a thick blanket of smoke. Kochi is living its worst nightmare. A fire that started at the Brahmapuram solid waste management site on the 2nd March is still raging. The Indian Navy and the state administration are engaging in firefighting operations.
You can see in the visuals the smoke that's coming out of the fire is covering the entire area. It's not just here. You can see in the that end corner where it's completely filled with smoke. The fire has not been fully doused. What we are understanding is the fire is right now under control, but you can see patches of fire here and there, and it will take another week, is what we are understanding, to completely douse the fire.
The Navy has deployed several helicopters to douse the fire that has made the city air toxic. People in Kochi and its suburbs are angry at the failure to control the fire.
ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എല്ലാവർക്കും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്. എല്ലാ പിള്ളേർക്കും വയസ്സായവർക്കും എല്ലാവർക്കും ശ്വാസം മുട്ടും ചുമയും. ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊന്നും ഇവിടെ നിൽക്കാൻ വയ്യ ഈ സമയത്ത് ഇത്തിരി കുറവുണ്ട്. വൈകുന്നേരം 3 മണിയൊക്കെ ആകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും പിന്നെയും തുടങ്ങും. കാറ്റ് വരുന്ന അനുസരിച്ചിട്ട് പുക കൂടിക്കൊണ്ടുവരും. രാത്രി ഒന്നും ഫാനൊന്നും ഇടാൻ പാടില്ല. വീട്ടിൽ എല്ലാ പുക അകത്തോട്ട് കയറി വരും. അപ്പോൾ 2 ദിവസമായിട്ട് പിള്ളേരൊന്നും ഉറങ്ങിയിട്ടില്ല.
Schools and shopping malls in the region were shut for 2 days. Students who have exams are stuck.
ഉച്ച കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് പുക കൂടുതലും തന്നെ. അതുകൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെ പഠിക്കാനൊന്നും പറ്റാറില്ല. പിന്നെ രാത്രിയൊക്കെ ഭയങ്കര പുകയായിരിക്കും. പുറത്തേക്ക് ഇറങ്ങാൻ പറ്റൂല. അകത്ത് തന്നെ ഇരിക്കണേ ഫുൾ ടൈം. പുറത്തേക്കൊന്നും അങ്ങനെ ഇറങ്ങാറില്ല. പഠിക്കാനൊന്നും പറ്റില്ല. ശ്വാസം മുട്ടലും തലവേദനയൊക്കെ. പിന്നെ അങ്ങനെ പഠിക്കാനൊന്നും പറ്റാറില്ല ഈ പുകയൊക്കെ ആയിരുന്നു.
Elderly citizens are complaining of suffocation and dizziness.
ചുമ ഉണ്ട് ശരിക്കും. പിന്നെ കഫക്കെട്ടുണ്ട്. അല്ലാണ്ട് ഇപ്പം ഒന്നും വേറെ പറയത്തൊക്കെ ഒന്നുമില്ല. പിന്നെ ഈ പുക വരുന്ന സമയത്താണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ശ്വസിക്കാനൊക്കെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ഭയങ്കര സ്മെല്ലുമായിരിക്കും. വാതിലൊക്കെ അടച്ചിട്ടിരുന്നാൽ തന്നെ ഒരു ഇതുമില്ല. പിന്നെയും പരിക്കകത്തൊക്കെ മുറിക്കകത്തൊക്കെ ഇതിൻ്റെ പുകയൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവും, സ്മെല്ലുണ്ടാവും.
Heads are rolling. Ernakulam District Collector Renu Raj has been shunted out. NSK Umesh has taken charge as the new collector.
My predecessor, Dr. Renu Raj, has done some fantastic work in the last 10 days in terms of controlling the fire and working on long-term solutions. So there's a fantastic action plan already in place. I think it's my duty to ensure that the action plan is implemented. I think it's a tough situation, but I think we will be able to manage it.
The Kerala High Court racked district officials for waste mismanagement. In a scathing observation, the court said Kochi has become a gas chamber. A week after fire started at Brahmapuram, the people of Kochi don't know when the nightmare will be over. With Shibimol in Kochi, Bureau Report, India Today.
For more than a week now, a huge fire has been raging at a massive dump yard on the outskirts of the city of Kochi in Kerala. These are images that have gone viral all across the world because the smoke and the smog and the pollution that has resulted from it has become a global story. Well, amidst this crisis in southern India, there are of course heroes, and among them are Indian Navy pilots who've been flying tirelessly in their helicopters to put out, or at least try to put out, this huge and spreading fire on the outskirts of the city of Kochi. Joining me live now from Kochi are two of those Indian Navy pilots who've been flying these missions. They're risky missions, but these are some of the country's most qualified aviators, constantly called in for all manner of humanitarian relief and operations of a kind where civilian assistance is the order of the day. From cyclones to dump yard fires, they are the port of call. Our great honor and privilege to welcome onto our coverage today Commander Sunil. He's a Sea King pilot, and Commander Antaryami, who flies the indigenous ALH Dhruv helicopter. Both of these pilots you see here on your screen, viewer, have been flying firefighting operations across that huge dump yard blaze on the outskirts of Kochi. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with me. Commander Sunil, to you first. As a pilot, you know, you're always prepared for all kinds of things, all kinds of eventualities. You know, you're practically sleeping with one eye open, I imagine, because you can be called for any kind of mission. Tell us about this one, a huge dump yard fire on the outskirts of Kochi. How did it begin? How did you guys go off to fight this fire?
Yeah, good afternoon, Shiv. The moment we got an information regarding the fire, the Navy sprung into action. We had a control room which was set up at the command. And thereafter, once we got our orders, we went into the air straight away and undertook an air recce of the area to understand the nuances of these operations. The recce mainly was to see what is the expanse of the fire, the wind, prevailing wind conditions, the bird activity, any obstructions nearby, and most importantly for the firefighting, we required a water source. Luckily, once we undertook the air recce, we found a water source very near to the scene of fire, which was around 1 to 2 nautical miles. And however, at the same time, we had the various challenges as there was intense bird activity near the being at a dump yard. It was very natural. Thereafter, we had high tension cables which were running along the dump yard. And they were just next to the dump yard, which meant we have to initially fly high, thereafter gradually come down before we disperse the water onto the fire. Additionally, the main challenge was the heavy smoke in the area, because we had to keep ourselves safe, the aircraft safe and the crew, and still carry out the missions. So once we landed back and we gave our brief to the control room, and mission briefing for the same was undertaken. The aircraft were in a different role. The team on the ground basically worked overnight and to get the aircraft ready for this role, for this firefighting role. And we were ready with the first flight.
Incredible. Commander Antaryami, flying through that smoke, birds everywhere, electricity cables nearby. I mean, this is every aviator's nightmare. I mean, you are trained to, fly in clear visibility, away from any obstacles. And here you're ordered to fly, into a really, really risky airspace. What was that like, flying in that?
It was challenging, Shiv, to say the least, because as you said, you are trained for a different environment. However, this was the real mission, wherein the challenges were, as brought out by Commander Sunil also, you heard them, flying through thick smoke, close to the high tension wire, in the vicinity of a lot of birds, was actually a challenging task. And but the job was very well specified to us, and the entire command was at it, and the aim was clear. So we found out methodology, how to go about it, and we could undertake quite a few drops, which were, in assistance to the local agencies who were already fighting the fire. So overall, it was a challenging task. However, with a lot of people involved, I'll say the ground crew, the station, when we were preparing, everybody put in their best efforts together, and then the outcome was what you saw on the subsequent days.
Absolutely, because Commander Sunil, the margin of safety, I assume, in such a situation, shrinks considerably, because you're surrounded by things that could affect your aircraft. How do pilots actually assess this, while there? Because I'm sure you couldn't have known about all the threats until you're actually in the threat.
Yeah, as I told you, the previous day once we were undertaking the air recce, at that point itself we undertook, basically we did a flying over the high tension cables, and the smoke, because the smoke was still, at that point of time it was very heavy. So we, during the recce itself, because we knew once the lalde, which is the equipment from where the water is being dispersed, we knew what was the, it actually hangs below the aircraft. We know the exact length, and we know at the height at which we are flying. So we have assessed that, and thereafter, and drawn a general route through which will be clear of the smoke, clear of the high tension cables, keeping the risk as minimum as possible, and of course, with taking the water source from picking up the water, so that the risk is as minimum. But as you said, some risk cannot be can be just minimized. It cannot be made to zero. So that's what we have been trained for, and that helped us.
Did some of that smoke, Commander Antaryami, did some of that smoke sort of find its way into the cockpit where you guys were flying?
Yes, while we were going for the final approaches for carrying out the drop of water over the fire, the aircraft was flying under the smoke, and whatever precautions we could take to minimize the ingress of smoke, but there was some smoke which is coming in the cockpit every time we were making the run for the drop over the site.
Is that a risk, Commander Antaryami? Smoke coming into the cockpit, when you're flying in such situations?
We were very briefly in smoke. However, I'll say the visibility wise, it was dropping as we were flying over the site when the smoke was there. And I'm sure you must have seen the photographs where the aircraft was under the engulfing smoke from the site. However, we were not breathing the entire thing throughout because it was moving in a particular direction.
Yeah.
And after we dropped the water over the site, we were moving towards the dam to fill up the water again, which was, I'll say, luckily clear of the smoke site. And the visibility was good, and the smoke presence was quite minimal over there.
Because the helicopters, final question to you, Commander Sunil, the helicopters have been flying non-stop on these missions. How close are we to putting that fire out? Because it's been raging for so many days.
See, as brought out by Commander Antaryami, now the fire on the periphery has been being fought by the local administration, the local fire tenders.
Yeah.
The naval fire tenders have also been put into action. But the main challenge was the fire which was raging at the center of the dump yard. Now that was not very accessible to the ground firefighters. That's where the helicopters came in, and we had put our ground team also in the basically on the spot, and they were giving us inputs regarding the best, basically the spot where they required for the firefight, basically the water to be dispersed. So we fought the fire where nobody accessed it, and our action was one of the basically once the firefighting of the basically fire triangle, what we call, whether to there is a burning material, there is an oxygen supply which requires, and there the third thing is an high temperature. Now the other two could not have been controlled because the burning material was quite high, oxygen obviously we cannot control. So our operation was mainly to drop water and get down the temperature.
Right.
And I think we have done a very decent job in getting down the fire. And basically the spread of the fire has been controlled.
I can imagine how difficult this entire task has been, and as always for the military, the task is never over. You'll be flying more missions here, and you won't have time for rest because the next mission will come along. That's the nature of the job. But the country thanks you. I'm sure Kochi thanks pilots like yourselves, and a big salute to the Indian Navy and its participation in this task on the outskirts of Kochi. Thank you very much, Commander Sunil and Commander Antaryami, for your time, giving us a little bit of an insight, letting us proverbially into that cockpit just to experience what such a difficult mission is really like. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Time for a very quick break now, but on the other side, the countdown has begun for the most polarizing election of 2023. PCM versus Love Jihad, Tippu versus Savarkar, Hindu versus Hindutva. The stage is set for State of War Karnataka. Akshita Nandagopal decodes this high-stakes battle in a never-before format. That's coming up at 6 p.m. Don't miss it.
Age is just a number. This line fits perfectly for Dharam Chand from Haryana. He is 86 but is still running, jumping and winning medals. His secret?
मैं बच्चों को सबको यही प्रेरणा देता हूँ कि आप मेरी तरह ग्राउंड के साथ जुड़े और सब वैभव से मुक्त होकर आप अपनी सेहत को, अपने शरीर को ठीक रखें। सन 68 से लेकर आज तक मैं कंटिन्यूड रेगुलर पोजीशन लेता आ रहा हूँ।
The 4th National Masters Athletics Championship, which recently took place in Kurukshetra, saw more than 2,400 participants from 22 states. 72-year-old Mahavir Singh is one of them.
मैं यही संदेश देना चाहता हूँ, भाई नशे से दूर रहें और खेलों से जुड़ें। आप खेलना जरूरी है, कोई जरूरी नहीं कोई मेडल जीते। मेरे को 40 साल खेलते हुए हो गए हैं और 20 साल से मैं इसमें मास्टर एथलेटिक्स एसोसिएशन में खेलता हूँ।
Several women also participated in different events.
हमारे टाइम में लड़कियों को खेलने का मौका नहीं मिलता था, तो एक अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म मुझे लगता है कि ये हमें मिला है कि इस उम्र में आके भी हम मेहनत करके अपनी अचीवमेंट ले सकते हैं। और एक ये ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म है कि इस पे अगर आप आएंगे तो शायद मुझे जो लगता है, अपने जीवन से जो लगता है कि हम किसी गलत ट्रैक पर नहीं जाएंगे।
The message these